Today's program is a bit different than our usual IssuesWatch broadcast. We are honored to have several special guests joining us. First, Okorie Ramsey, the current chairperson of the American Institute of CPAs, will be joining NJCPA CEO and Executive Director AJ Johnson and NJCPA President Ed O'Connell. Next, you'll get a New Jersey Division of Taxation update from Marita Sciarrotta. Then AJ and Okorie will be joined by Sue Coffey, the CEO of Public Accounting at the AICPA. And throughout the program, the winners of this year's NJCPA Ovation Awards will be announced by Jesse Hirschbein, chair of our Volunteer Relations Committee. So lots of exciting information and content. AJ, I'm going to turn the program over to you now.
Welcome, everyone. As Teresa mentioned, I'm joined by the NJCPA's 2023-24 president, Ed O'Connell.
Thank you.
Ed is a partner at Witham. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. And we're thrilled to welcome Okorie Ramsey. Okorie is the 2023-24 chair of the AICPA and is a vice president at Kaiser Foundation Health Plan and Kaiser Foundation Hospitals. Thanks so much for being here today.
Great to be here, AJ. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I've prepared a couple of questions, so I'll just jump right in. Can you share a little bit about your background and what has prepared you for the AICPA chairperson position today?
Sure. So AJ, and I want to just wish a good welcome to everyone who's joined the webcast. So thank you for being here with us as well. Really glad to be here with the CPA Society of New Jersey. And I will tell you the start, it starts with in college. I knew that going into college, actually for me from high school, that I was going to major in accounting. And I started with at San Francisco State University, where I majored in accounting. I worked for 3 public accounting firms. I worked for Coopers & Lybrand, Arthur Andersen, and then EY. But in between that stint, I actually worked for Robert Half International as well as a publicly traded company, but in a private industry role. And so all of that was kind of part of the building of the building blocks of my skills to ultimately move into this space. My volunteerism is really what led me to actually become in this role. Right, so I actually was the chair of the Education Foundation for the California Society of CPAs Education Foundation Board of Trustees. Through working in that space, I actually was nominated to serve on council for AICPA. And that's where I really learned about what was happening at, I'll call it kind of the national level and even the international. And so I decided after serving 2 terms on council, I got a call that, hey, you might be getting a call to see if you're interested in serving on the board, based on the work that I'd done in council, right? And so I was really, first of all, just astonished to actually have that opportunity or the thought that I would be considered for that. But upon doing that, I did, get the call. And once I got the call, I decided, well, if I'm going to be on the board, I'm going to seek to be chairman of the board. And so I started to put myself in positions and asking for opportunity to also be able to serve in that capacity. So I initially served on the Audit and Finance Committee as a member of the committee. I served on the Investment Committee as well. And then I actually served as chair of the committee. And the ICPA and my state society kind of jointly decided independently that this guy might be a good person to be vice chair. And so, and again, just overwhelmed by an appreciation for the fact that both my state society and also AICPA were interested in me pursuing that role, while also continuing to grow in my professional role. Because I told you about the public accounting side of where I've been, but in the industry, I actually had started as a director and worked my way up to vice president within Kaiser Permanente, which is again an integrated healthcare system in the state out of Oakland, California. But we're at about $100 billion in support nationwide. So the combination of my development in my work, but also volunteerism, have led to this enormous opportunity to lead the profession as a volunteer executive.
That's really wonderful, and thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. As a quick follow-up, we do have students, watching as well. So what would you suggest or any advice that you would offer to our students?
Well, first of all, I would say, students, I'm so glad that you're watching and spending the time with us here. I believe that we have an amazing profession. And it's really about continuing to secure the skills that are necessary to ultimately do well in the profession. So focus on the technical skills, that's always really important, but you also want to focus on your thought leadership skills, your, how do I, navigate technical issues, or how do I kind of prepare for like leadership presentations. These are classes that you don't necessarily have to take, but that are really valuable to take, such as speech or public speaking and business writing classes, things that really help to round you out in addition to the technical areas. So I would say that would be where I would want them to focus, but we are really excited about you coming into the profession and excited for you to join us.
Thank you.
Okorie, it's great to see you again. Thanks for visiting with us today.
Sure.
So we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what areas you were focused on as the chair of the AICPA.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your service as well. It's great to be in the space where at Council we're meeting routinely on topics of interest to the profession. And so the 5 areas of focus, the three primary, but then there are a couple others that I'm focusing on as well. The first is continuing to advance innovation within the profession. Our profession has been around for well over 100 years, probably closer to 150 or beyond. And we have to continue to innovate the way that we do our work to ensure that we're getting the best and the brightest talent to come into our profession, but also to change how we do the work that we do. I mean, we can't afford to think that we're always going to do things the way we've always done them and think that we're going to get different outcomes. So focusing on how do we leverage AI? How do we leverage automation? How do we look at ChatGPT in a way that is productive and that doesn't do harm, but ultimately helps us to do things better, faster, and more efficient and effective? So that's number one. Instilling integrity into areas such as sustainability. So when you think about ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance, we're looking at how do we advance that work in the spaces that we work, whether you are a business industry professional where you are going to have to maybe do an ESG report, where you're focusing on, say, greenhouse gas emissions, or what's your social action work that you're doing in terms of maybe civil unrest and things that are happening in that space, or how are you governing things, right? So we want to, if you are someone who's developing a report, people in our space can really help you with thinking through what is the type of data that you're going to need to ultimately to have that information attested to say that I've got accurate and complete reporting that may be going into my financial statement reporting. The other side of that is that you may be someone who's actually doing the attest work. And so you have to make sure that you've got the skill set and the people to ultimately execute in that space. So there's no one better, right, than us in our profession to really advance that space. That's true. The third is ensuring that we have support for those next generation of CP accountants and finance professionals coming into our profession. We need those individuals, and I really think that it's not only because of the fact that they're just great work that we do, but we are the backbone of American business, of international business. And to ensure that we have accuracy in the financial reporting processes and that the public can trust the data that's coming out wherever they are in the world, we need to have professionals coming into the profession who will continue to do the great work that we have always been known for. Now, I will tell you there's three other things that I'm focusing on, and being here is actually one of them, which is to continue to collaborate and partner with our state CPA societies. It is the work that we do collectively that really helps to drive our profession forward. So you'll see me kind of crossing the country a little bit, going to different places, whether it's doing a presentation on business industry topics such as CFO trends, or you might see me doing a professional issues update on things that are going on in the profession just more broadly, and meeting with students or professionals, wherever they may be, to really continue to help advance what we're trying to do in the profession. I got to give a little shout out to Cal CPA. They have this thing called, CPA stands for coolest profession around. I'm doing my part to try to make that seem be true.
Really great.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and then driving agility. Those are the two other areas that I'm focused on.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, first of all, for all the work that you're doing. And I'd like to go into some of the trends. So what are the major trends impacting CPAs in public accounting and business and industry?
Great, thank you, AJ. There are several trends that we have in this space that we were seeing in that area. And the first is that finding and retaining talent, which really speaks to the pipeline. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But that's something that we have to make sure that that we're seeing as an issue. The impact of inflation, right? So we've seen even earlier this year where inflation was sometimes in the 7 to 8% range. So the uncertainty that brings, the cost of securing money is more, it's more challenging, especially when you're seeing higher inflation. So how do we, deal with that as in the business industry or, as in a public accounting space, because the cost of services also go up. And then you're dealing with the value proposition of it costs you X, Y, Z to do this. So how do you make sure you've got that, addressed? The need for new competencies. How do we make sure we're addressing those competencies? Maintaining a hybrid culture. I mean, we were talking a bit earlier about the fact that a lot of companies are still very remote. And so how do we ultimately deal with this of still having a culture in an organization where you've got some people who are coming in a couple of days a week and you have other people who are feeling remote and you just, it's hard really to keep, like, what are we known for? Who are we when you're doing an environment where there's that kind of change? Digital transformation. Right? Things that we know now will be outdated in a very short period of time. What we did 3 years ago, we have better ways to do that today. Right? So how do we continue to drive transformation in seeing that? Recession risk is another, and then emerging trends such as DEI and ESG are other areas. So and so I gave you, it's really more than 5, but there was a type number 2. 3 things for number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. I just want to dig a little bit deeper. So certainly, as we think about emerging trends as an example, how can we advise our members to, think about the future now?
Right. So I believe that to really think about like these trends and how they impact, what can we do today to ultimately make sure that we're addressing that? So when you think about, finding talent, and I'll just do maybe 2 examples here. But when you're thinking about how do I find, the talent that's going to really be interested in doing the work that's important for, whether it's if you're in business, if you are in public accounting, that will service your clients, but if you're in business industry, that will do the kind of the day-to-day operational work. Well, we have to be out in the public space, right? So LinkedIn, making sure you have a profile, that your organization has a brand, and how do you make sure that the type of individuals that you are interested in understands who you are, what you stand for, your mission, and to be in spaces where you can secure that talent. I would say on the culture for a hybrid environment, we really have to make sure that we listen to our people and understand what are their needs, right? And what will be the things that they would make them come into the office on a more regular basis, if that's kind of your goal, right? Or if it's that you want to be remote, well, what kind of activities can we do that will create that common spirit, for our employees, and making them part of the process. And those are just a couple of examples of things that I would be trying to do.
Thank you.
We've been hearing about the T-shaped finance and accounting professional. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I appreciate that, Ed. So I would say that the way I think about the T-shaped accountant is that the stem of the T is really about having deep technical skills. So that is something that will never go away. When you are an accounting or finance professional, you have to have that technical expertise that will allow you to really service, again, whether it's your clients or if it's in a business and operational role, in finance or accounting, that you have the technical skill set, the debits and credits, right? But then the wide part of the T is really where I would say we haven't historically focused as much, but we have to do a better job at it, because this is what we're hearing that our clients and our business spaces need. So examples, business skills. I think of it in terms of sense making. How do you make sense of the data that's coming through your financial results? You can't just report the news, you have to make the news. You have to be able to educate and inform people about what this data means and to help people make good sense out of the information and to make better business decisions. People skills, it's evolving. right? How we lead and how we work with people. What are the needs that our people need today in this very remote or hybrid environment post-COVID that is different than maybe the way that people have operated before? Just because when we say now that, well, work is not a place that you go, it's something you do. And so how do you make sure that you're adjusting to that environment? Strategic thinking, critical business thinking. These are like, how do you, again, understand data and report on it? Leadership, storytelling, making sense of the data and being able to tell a story behind what it means and what decisions you might make based on information. And then again, collaboration and data skills as well. So we're looking at this wide breadth of skills that you have to ultimately really serve as a true accountant and a financial professional. So it's very different than, I would say, the way that you might think of the old bean counter, green, shade person, just working in the back room. You have to be at the front and understand what's going on to ultimately help the company make really sound decisions. So that's really kind of what the T-shaped accountant is all about. And we believe that both through the work that's happening with the new CEPA exam, but also from a CGMA perspective as well, that these will be the type of skills that we believe are important to help you round yourself out to be able to be that professional that the business and the communities that we serve need.
That's great. You mentioned earlier finding and retaining talent is a top concern for the accounting profession, and it's a priority at the AICPA, and here at NJCPA. What are some of the factors that are causing the accountant shortage?
Wow, well, and it definitely is a challenge for us, but I have some good news to share as well. So I look forward to giving you, but let's talk a little bit about those areas of challenge first. So US birth rates are down, and that has a direct impact on the number of individuals who are going to go to college and the number of individuals of going to college who are going to ultimately go into accounting and finance types of roles, right? So if that is going down, it's going to have a natural impact. Our immigration laws in the U.S. are also, a bit of a challenge. The diversity of the profession is not the same as, I would say, the broader diversity of, of U.S. business, and that's an opportunity for us. It's something that we need to, again, reflect, what we see in terms of the environments that we work in. I think about that in terms of even my own organization. That we serve members of every shade, and we want to make sure that we are a reflection of the people who are coming through those doors seeking healthcare. And so we have to do more in our space. Incentives and culture of organizations. Now, I would tell you the good news is that firms and businesses are increasing the salaries of professionals in the finance and accounting roles, but they haven't kept up pace with some of the rates that have happened in other professions, such as IT or actuarial services and in some areas of finance. So while we've done a lot of really great work, we've got to keep doing more because that's really who we're competing against. And when we're dealing with an environment where there's a lot of opportunity for people to take on different roles, well, we want to get our share of that pie and making sure they have a really good experience. I would also say the cost of education. Education, when I was in just per semester, $700 a semester. It's probably now about $17,000 a semester, right, depending on where you go to school. So how do we help to create more of an affordable space for those students? I would say when you think about the good news, right? So there's hope, right? And so some of those things we're seeing increases in in terms of the positive outlook. We're seeing increases in community college. Right? More students are going to community college, which is a feeder to the 4-year college, and then also going to get your degree. Undergraduate rates are, I would say, they're stabilizing, they're kind of flat, but then we're also seeing a little bit of a decline in the graduate space. Now, in terms of the CPA exam, we are seeing a uptick in the number of professionals who are taking the CPA exam, both in the US, but also internationally. So, and granted, I'll get into a slide you'll see in a moment about why that is, but we are seeing growth in that space. In terms of the employment of CPAs, newer accountants, as I mentioned, are seeing an increase in salaries versus what had been happening historically. So sometimes in the 10 to 15% increases that we've seen over time since 2020. More companies are actually helping aspiring CPAs to get their education that they need to ultimately be prepared to work in their environments. So we see that as also a good trend. Now, one of the things that we see that is a little less so is that we're seeing there may be some ease in the demand for professionals in our space. So there's some work to do there, but that's also driven by the economy, which is one of those things that we identified as a trend that we're seeing that creates some concern.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me talk to you a little bit about going forward around what we're seeing in terms of the CPA exam. So you'll see here that there's a trend downward in terms of people taking the exam, but we're seeing now an uptick. And what's driving that is that we do have a new CPA exam coming up in January 2024. And when we have that, we typically see a spike because people want to take it in the old format. They want to take what they've historically known, right? And so that's what we're kind of seeing there. And then also internationally, we are actually seeing a rapid incline. It's just continues. I actually love what we're seeing in that space. It's being driven by Europe, South America, Asia, and Middle East. I would say largely India is where we're seeing a lot of individuals who are coming into taking the exam, the U.S.-based exam. So things are definitely on the uptick, and I think there's great opportunity for us to just continue that and to bring more people into the profession.
That's great. All right. I would say the other good news is that many steps are being taken both locally and nationally. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into more detail on that later in the program. So I really appreciate that.
For sure.
Okay. Could you give us a bit of a brief overview now on
what would you, a brief overview of, I'm sorry?
Pipeline
the pipeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. So what we're going to be talking about maybe a little bit later, Sue Coffey, the CEO of the public accounting for AICPA, will be joining us to give a bit more detail on the work that we're doing there. But we have a national pipeline initiative where we are bringing a very broad cross-section of individuals who are business and industry, regulators, large firms, small firm, and to all help us look at this, at what are options and solutions for how we solve this problem, because it's not a one silver bullet, it's multi-pronged, and we're going to really have to have all of us in the boat rowing the same way, right, to try to get to how we really address the pipeline issue. And I'm really excited about some of the things you're going to hear when we get to that time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks to you both. And we will see you a little bit later in the program. Ed, thank you so much for participating.
Thanks for having me here again.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Okay, now I'm excited to turn the program over to Jesse to announce some of the winners of our Ovation Awards. This awards program honors superstars whose exemplary efforts and stellar achievements are advancing New Jersey's accounting profession. Jesse, over to you.
Thank you, AJ. I'm honored to be the one to announce the very deserving award of the 2023 NJCPA Ovation Award. As a 2020 recipient of this award, I'm very proud to be part of this announcement. Our first category is Exceptional Educator. These individuals are college accounting educators who have distinguished themselves through excellence in teaching, active promotion of careers in accounting, and serving as role models. This year's Exceptional Educators are Anne Marie Callahan, Margaret O'Reilly Allen, Jay Solid, Nancy Uden, and Evan Wasserman. Congratulations to all of the winners. Our next category is Impact. This award recognizes those who give back to the community, share professional expertise to support others, and advance the interests and needs of the accounting profession through active engagement, leadership, and advocacy. This year's Impact recipients are Joseph Kaplan, Jerry Conity, Christopher Cowan, Peter DeSarno, Jeremy Kay, Edward Menlowitz, Brad Muniz, Joseph Pasquino, Catherine Powers, and Ralph Thomas. Congratulations to all of the winners. I'll be back later in the program to announce some more award winners. I'll now return the program over to Marita Sciarrotta, a great friend of the Society who has recently become the acting director of the New Jersey Division of Taxation.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I appreciate that introduction. And I appreciate also the opportunity to participate in this edition of IssuesWatch. Yes, as mentioned a moment ago, there have been some major changes made at the New Jersey Division of Taxation effective September 25th. That includes I have been named the acting director of the Division of Taxation. And for those of you who don't know too much about me, I have spent 35 plus years with the Division of Taxation, working throughout the entire organization. It's actually my 40th year. I started working here as a teenager as an hourly, so it's quite a joy to be able to ascend to this position. I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Mr. John Ficara, the former acting director of the Division of Taxation, has taken on a wonderful new role as policy advisor to the Office of the Director. And Joseph J. LePage has been elevated to the role of Deputy Director responsible for the collections enforcement, data systems, and taxpayer services activity. So many of the inquiries and general guidance that historically has been sent to me should now be directed to Mr. LePage. Some important information about the upcoming tax year. So there are very minimal changes to the gross income tax return. However, you are aware that there has been some considerable changes to the corporation business tax regime, and a lot of guidance relating to that, as well as technical bulletins, are available on our webpage. I also want to turn your attention to the fact that we have posted a draft. It is a draft. It is not a finalized copy, but a draft copy of the corporation business tax return for the 2023 tax year. It's posted to our website, the New Jersey Division of Taxation's website, which I'll give you in a moment. And that will allow you to see some of the changes that we have made or how the return will look for the 2023 tax year. In addition, there is also some considerable information that is available regarding the convenience of the employer rule that has recently been signed into legislation regarding remote workers and obligations to withholding for employers. All of this information can be found at our website, which is nj.gov/treasury/taxation. Once again, that's nj.gov/treasury/taxation. There is a lot of information on our web pages. If you hadn't had an opportunity to kind of scroll through it, please, I really encourage you to do that. Some of the other information that really would pertain to some niche sections of this august body would be regarding the senior freeze and the property tax reimbursement program is starting to wrap up. Anyone who hasn't, who is eligible, should file for this program by October 31st, 2023. In addition, a hot topic right now in New Jersey, of course, is Anchor, which is the Affordable New Jersey Communities for Homeowners and Renters program. It's in full swing. We are launching a media campaign, and we have canvassers that have been recruited and trained and have also signed confidentiality and disclosure agreements with the Division of Taxation. These are troops of people who are going out knocking on doors around the state of New Jersey, targeting specific areas so that we can ensure that every homeowner and every tenant that is entitled to this benefit is signing up for it. And these canvassers can actually help people on the spot file for the Anchor benefit. They are easy to ID. They are wearing blue vests with yellow wording on it, announcing that they are Anchor Property Tax members of the Anchor Property Tax Relief Outreach Team. And they are also wearing a yellow badge. Payments for Anchor for the 2020 season which is the one that we're in right now, payments will begin rolling out the week of October 10th, next week. The deadline to file returns is December 29th, 2023. For more information about Anchor, I encourage you to go to Anchor, anchor.nj.gov. So anchor.nj.gov. We are continuing to hire at the Division of Taxation. We still have some spaces to fill within our investigations, our taxpayer services, and our auditor platforms. And we are facing many of the same challenges that you are in recruitment and finding eligible candidates. So we feel your pain. Something that's really important to talk about is the tax modernization project. Some of you have probably heard us talking about for quite some time, updating our tax system. And in fact, we have a vendor on board, and we have begun the conversion over of the data that we have in our mainframe system to this new system that we are calling STAR. That stands for State Tax and Revenue. The STAR system will take a 5-year build. So it's not something that we're all going to see immediate results on. However, we should see some incremental results beginning as early as the spring of 2024, when we will be launching our portal access. And we encourage all of you to register, for taxpayers to register. This portal will allow access to a system that is easier to make payments to the state of New Jersey for tax purposes and make filings, as well as, and this is really bringing us into the modern age, it also will allow taxpayers and practitioners to see the account as it is in real time. So this will be a great boon for all of us in this profession, whether administrators or tax professionals, to have a better real-time view of what a taxpayer's account looks like and be able to make some adjustments directly without relying on us, that is the Division of Taxation, to make those corrections. So that, I think, will really be quite a boon. So now I'm going to offer an opportunity for questions. I see a couple are coming in here. There is a question that is asking if Anchor payments are taxable or are not taxable for income tax purposes. Anchor payments are not taxable for gross income tax purposes in New Jersey, and they are also, to the best that we have been able to ascertain, not taxable for the federal government in the way that other refundable programs have been in other states. So there is some guidance that we have posted on our website, and I will double check to make sure that has been updated to reinforce that. But no, there is no need to include the Anchor payment in when somebody is applying for the property tax reimbursement program or when they are filing their New Jersey 1040 for the 23 year. What form is filed for the senior freeze? There is what we call the Blue Book, a PTR booklet, which can be downloaded from the website, from the New Jersey Division of Taxation website for first-time filers. What happens with first-time filers is someone who's eligible for the program, who's lived in New Jersey. At this point, we are still operating under the current rules that have been modified going into the 23 tax year. But since we're still talking about the 22 reimbursement year, I'll just kind of speak from that point of view. A taxpayer must be 65 years of older, have an income less than approximately $99,000. The more specific numbers are available on the webpage. Have lived in the state of New Jersey for the last 10 years and have lived and occupied a home as their sole residence in New Jersey for 3 years. And that is the home that they would establish what we call a base year on. And any incremental increases in property tax from that base year forward would be issued back as a refund or as a reimbursement to a taxpayer as they file further and further into their as they file further in future years. Okay, wow, you guys are fast and furious here. Let me see if I can go back to this one. if someone receives an anchor check for 2019, checks the website and state says there's no record, do they have to file by paper or wait? If someone has filed a 2019 application and they filed before the deadline of February 28th, 2023, please try to get in touch with the Division of Taxation. I don't try, do call the anchor hotline and speak to a representative. There are a number of reasons why some taxpayers may not have received an anchor payment, even though they may think they have qualified for 2019. Some of those things may be that they may have been a homeowner living in payment in lieu of property taxes locations. There may have been a change to their life status, a divorce, a death, or some other change that has some impact on the deed that hasn't been reconciled in our records. We also have encountered areas of fraud, and some accounts may be held in in abeyance for investigation, and it'd be in the best interest of those taxpayers to outreach us, and if we can shake them loose more quickly, we certainly shall. Okay. Sorry, this is the anchor deadline for 2019 was extended several times because the participation that we had hoped for was not as robust by the end of 2023. For 2020, at this particular point, we are not talking about extending the deadline for anchor. We are right now, honestly, the filing has been remarkably robust, very energetic. That on top of the nearly 1.3 million taxpayers that we are auto filing for. So we really are seeing now that the program is in its second season, more familiarity with it, and therefore we may not need a deadline. Just keep tuned. Should we need a deadline extension to ensure that we hit every taxpayer who should be receiving this benefit, we will surely make that known immediately. The CBT forms should be ready to file fiscal years ending July 31st, 2023. We know that they're going to, at this particular point, unless there is some last minute legislative change, which we do not anticipate, but of course we are going into a lame duck session, so anything is possible. But barring all those circumstances, we do expect that you will have the returns in a timely manner, perhaps well before the end of this calendar year. If a spouse missed the 2019 deadline due to a death in the family, can the family still apply? We will never stop you from filing for a past due return or benefit payment. However, because a return may have been submitted after a statute of limitations period, there will be an automatic denial letter that goes out, and a taxpayer is always welcome to immediately respond back to the Division of Taxation and ensure that, and to make their claim for why they should be receiving the payment because of medical circumstances, death of a spouse, what have you. Okay, so I am at the end of my time, and I am going to turn this program back to Jesse. Over to you.
Thanks for the great presentation, Marita. We really appreciate it. It's time to announce the next two categories of the Ovation Awards. First up is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award, which honors champions who work passionately to make the accounting and finance profession open, welcoming, and fair. This year's winners are William Bradshaw, Jacqueline Engelsman, Kevin Macalos, Joseph McGrath, and Chris Mitchell. Congratulations to each of them. Our next category is Emerging Leaders. These are savvy superstars who have been working in the accounting profession 10 years or less and have noteworthy professional accomplishments. Keep an eye on these people, folks. This is our next generation. The winners are Stephen Budrick, Mark D'Alessio, Kerry Duda Wilson, Christina Kostowski, Jessica Lita, Daniel McGuckin, Robert Mulligan, Michael Norman, and Chloe Shortino. Congratulations to everyone. I'll be back to announce more winners soon. I'll now turn the program back over to AJ.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm back with Okorie, and joining us is Sue Coffey, the CEO of Public Accounting at the AICPA. Welcome, Sue.
Hi, AJ. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here today. Earlier, we discussed the CPA pipeline challenges, as well as some positive outlooks we're starting to see with the college enrollment and the CPA exam. Sue, can you tell us about the National Pipeline Acceleration Plan and the collaboration to develop a national pipeline strategy that Okorie referenced earlier?
Sure, I'm happy to. And Okorie, you, I think, outlined our challenges very well.
Thank you, Sue.
And there are a lot of them, and they are significant, but we are seeing some bright spots. So thank you for pointing those out as well. About a year ago, we gathered a lot of research and sifted through to find kind of those root causes that were creating the challenges that Corey identified for us. And we were looking at things that we could, that were immediately actionable, and we could get some quick hits on solving some of those challenges. And you see on the slide, there are 12 things that we came up with that we have been working on over the last 12 to 18 months. And I just want to point out a couple of them. The first is our Experience, Learn, and Earn program, which is designed to address the root cause of the education cost issue that Okorie mentioned earlier, both the real cost and the opportunity cost for the student to remain in university before they start working. And what this program is a partnership with the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy, which means that this is something that the state boards endorse, which is very important for licensure. And we're also working with Tulane University as our pilot university partner. And what it does is it allows professionals working for firms to bridge the gap between 120 and 150 hours of education. So it allows individuals to immediately join a firm right after they graduate with their bachelor's degree, and working with the firm as a productive employee, billable hours, with the firm giving them time to take online courses. They can earn up to 30 credit hours of education for as little as $150 a credit. So if they need 30 credits, the full 30 credits, which most students do not when they graduate with a bachelor's degree, it'll be about $4,500 for them. So it is significantly less than the cost that you were talking about earlier, Okorie. And firms commit to mentoring. They commit to giving the time for the student to take the online courses and then apply what they're learning in their work environment. So it's a really cool program. And I just want to give a shout out to Witham, because I know that they're doing a similar type apprenticeship program with Seton Hall, as well as PwC with St. Peter's. And those are just really innovative approaches, and I applaud them for their creativity and working within the system to advance our students. Another thing I wanted to mention is just something to address workplace culture. And, Okorie, you mentioned a number of things, challenges that we've identified that young adults in high school and in college are telling us are a problem with our profession from a culture perspective,
Sure.
Whether it's the hours of work, the salary. So we're developing a series of resources and best practices to help firms take a really hard look at their business models and determine whether or not those business models really create the culture of advancement and image and attractiveness and retention and reward. And so we hope those resources will be meaningful in helping firms really kind of look deeply and make some change. We also have a series of initiatives around eliminating the complexities of the licensure process itself, because when a student, employee, CPA candidate actually gets to the point where they have to get their license or they're going to get their license from the Board of Accountancy, across the country, there's a lot of diversity in rules and regulations, and we want to create consistency and simplicity there to make it easy for them. We're also working on obtaining federal funding for education awareness about our profession from kindergarten through 12th grade by redefining STEM, and that's an initiative on our legislative agenda down in DC. And then I just want to give a shout out to the Center for Audit Quality. I really love their Accounting Plus social media image campaign. A lot of our members have said, we need an image campaign, we need an image campaign. And that's what the Center for Audit Quality is doing. They are an affiliate of AICPA. There's a lot of involvement by state CPA societies and CPA firms in funding this. And what it's doing is it's changing the dialogue around our profession to help young adults really understand the opportunities about our profession using social media like TikTok, Instagram, where they live, and employing influencers such as athletes and entertainers. So again, just another really great, interesting program that's being done to solve some of those challenges, Okorie, that you mentioned.
And so, as you shared all the different things that we're working on, and we have a new CPA exam coming, right?
We do.
And so, what this does hit on is that it's not a silver bullet, right? So there's a number of things that we have to address, and one of the things that we're looking at in the new CPA exam, which I mentioned a bit earlier, is that effective January and so forth, the listening population that come January 2024, we've got an exam coming, and it will be different, but it'll be focusing on continue to keep the core strengths of accounting, auditing, tax, and technology, but then also looking at deeper skills that we'll have in areas such as tax compliance and planning, or business analysis and reporting, and then information systems and controls, which we are seeing are, again, further really important skills that we know that for businesses and organizations and firms that we work with, that they need to hone these skills in a deeper way. So the CPA exam will be helping in that space, and you can see on this slide that there's a place where you can get more information if you have some questions about that, but definitely be prepared for that, and that we're really seeking to have this as another element of what we're trying to do to advance.
Yeah, and we started working on that because we were seeing the decline in exam takers, and we were actually seeing that firms were hiring more non-accounting majors. And so when we started to talk to firms about why they were doing that, they said the skills that the accounting majors were coming out with were not really what they needed to serve their entire client base. So we said, what can we do to create, a better ending of that, pipeline, and how can we widen the funnel? And that was how we ended up with that core, and then those 3 disciplines around it. So good stuff. We also talked about the need for a national strategy. And a few months ago, we began an initiative to do this that is highly data-driven, because there is a lot of opinion out there in terms of what the challenges are without a lot of fact backing it up. So we want to be very data-driven, and we want to be very highly inclusive of our entire membership, the entire profession, and related stakeholders that are important to the development and the performance of our services. So we're going to be, over the next couple of months, conducting countrywide forums, a lot of focus groups delivered through state CPA societies. I know New Jersey is one of those. We're going to be doing a lot of polling. We're going to be issuing a national survey at the end of November, early December, that's designed to test thinking, ideas, solutions, so that we can develop a plan by next May that is flexible and evergreen, that allows for the ebb and flow of the talent needs of our profession, because we all know, at least in my lifetime, and Okorie, I think in my lifetime, we've seen times when supply exceeds demand, and we've seen times when demand exceeds supply. So we need a plan that is flexible enough that allows for that ebb and flow of our profession's talent needs. So I just threw a slide in here because a visual tells everything. And this is just to show that we're being guided by an advisory group that is very inclusive and very diverse. And this just shows you on this slide the number and types of individuals that are involved in this process to help guide us through it.
Well, this is all very exciting, and I know that we'll be looking forward to hearing updates and learning how we can all be involved in the process.
And I can't wait for that. Thank you. All of you.
Right, exactly. So here in New Jersey, we have 2 university firm partnerships that are offering work for credit programs in an effort to ease the pathway to becoming a CPA. Last year, St. Peter's University and PwC piloted their program. 6 participants who all received undergraduate degrees from St. Peter's worked as paid associates at PwC. As part of the program, they earned the additional 30 college credits and the 1 year of work experience needed for CPA licensure. By all reports, the first year was a success, and they've just started the second year with a new cohort. More recently, Seton Hall University and Witham launched a similar program called the CPA Pathway Apprenticeship. The students are full-time apprentice-level team members at Witham, with an opportunity to work in all service lines and industries while earning their final 30 credits. The students may also sit for the CPA exam during the program, which means that they could be licensed CPAs by the time they start their accounting careers as full-time entry-level staff at the firm. We are very proud of these 2 groundbreaking programs and look forward to additional partnerships. Here at the NJCPA, we've developed a pipeline task force that has been charged with developing a set of actionable and measurable recommendations. The task force will identify areas that need improvement, as well as practices and programs that the NJCPA should launch, continue, or ramp up. They will recommend where to direct resources and where further research is needed. The task force will deliver a first set of recommendations to the Strategic Planning Committee in the fall, and also to the Board of Trustees in December. In the meantime, all of our members can help spread the word about the profession. Together with the AICPA and many state CPA societies, we will be celebrating CPA Week in November. We encourage our members to participate in our career awareness program by making a presentation at their local high school. We provide the presentation and the script, so sign up at the link on your screen. And we're going to pause our discussion with Okorie and Sue to turn it back over to Jesse for more Ovation Award announcements.
Thanks, AJ. Our next award category is innovation, which acknowledges those who are driving accounting innovation, such as leveraging new technologies, using forward-thinking data analytic strategies, or implementing alternative business models. The winners are Shannon Daly and Matthew Holman. Congratulations to both of you. Next up are the women to watch. These female NJCPA members exhibit outstanding leadership and contributions and a commitment to fostering the success of their colleagues. The winners are Dina DeMarco, Yeti Handayani, Olga Lomersky, Lauren Naples, Jennifer Peoples, Vanessa Santorelli, Karen Savage, Sarah Snell, Kristen Walters, and Danielle Weiss. Congratulations to all of the winners. Now back to you, AJ.
Part of your work is understanding where firms have growth opportunities and how they're creating capacity for that growth. Where do you see the biggest opportunities?
So great question. And I love it. And I think it's a great time to be part of our profession. I think you said that earlier today as well. There are so many opportunities, in many respects, too many opportunities, which gets to the capacity issue and why a lot of firms are kind of stepping back and being very thoughtful about what they want to do and who they want to do it for. And so we're seeing growth in a lot of areas. The first one you can see on this slide is a test. A test is actually the #1 growth area service for the top 100 firms. And I know the top 100, there are a lot of firms besides the top 100 firms, but kind of knowing that trend is super helpful. And they're seeing growth in financial statement audits. They're seeing growth in assurance beyond the financial statements. A lot of growth in service organization and control, so SOC reporting, as the assurance associated with that. Cybersecurity risk management for sure, because that's obviously impacting businesses of all sizes in every state and every corner of the country and certainly the world. And ESG as well, and I know Okorie mentioned that as a top priority of his. And ESG is interesting because, regardless of what you believe politically about either the environment or social justice, this is an area that is being driven both externally and internally. There are regulations in the European Union that are driving what businesses in the United States need to do. There is an SEC proposal on the table that, if adopted, will drive what both public and private companies will need to do. And thank you to California for the latest legislation that applies to huge organizations, but also requires organizations within their supply chain, whether public or private, to do certain levels of reporting and assurance. And so if you think about it, what they're asking for data aggregation. They're asking for internal controls around that data. They're asking for measurement, valuations, internal reporting for good decision making, external reporting, obviously, for investors, and then assurance. And that's what we do. That's our space. So whether we agree with the topics politically or not is irrelevant. This is an area that we really have to learn about if we don't know about it already. And it's an opportunity that we have to create capacity for, because clients and our employers in business are going to be asking for it if they're not already, candidly.
And they are.
Yeah, and they are. And they are, right? Just the second area of growth, which is probably the fastest growing, is client accounting services. A lot of firms, in fact, there's a top 100 firm that all they do is client accounting services. And it ranges everything from CFO or controllership services to payroll prep services to financial preparation services. But it is a big and growing business, and there are some amazing technologies out there that are creating the capacity for this high growth area. And then just tax compliance and planning. I mean, our tax laws, state and federal, are so complex right now. And businesses and individuals rely on us to sift through that complexity and comply with the law. And there's a huge opportunity then to do tax planning and then to do life planning, whether it's life planning for a business or life planning for an individual. So I just wanted to highlight those three growth areas.
Absolutely. And I made a few notes because you touched on, federal considerations. So I'd like to stay on that. Earlier, we heard an update on New Jersey tax issues. And I'd like for you to share what are some of the big issues you're tackling at the federal level.
Well, happy to do that. And if you were to ask me this question 2 days ago, I would have had a very different answer. Because we were very hopeful for a year-end tax bill that would have included a lot of things that we've been advocating for that have both bicameral and bipartisan support. But as a result of what has happened over the last couple of days, and we have another, 43 days before we go into the budget discussions again, it's just creating a lot of chaos in Washington, D.C. So things like tax extenders, R&E, which we thought would be in a year-end tax bill, a reallocation of the $80 billion that the IRS was allocated as a result of the pandemic, a reallocation of some of that from enforcement to tax service and technology modernization, streamlining of the tax filing extension process that we've been advocating, where individuals would get an automatic extension of their tax return at April 15th if they pay 125% of their prior year liability without having, the practitioner having to prepare anything related to that. Those were all things that we were working on to get in this year in tax bill. Now, it is not completely off the table, but the odds of it happening are much, 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 much less. And we're still going to, you know, pedal to the metal. We're still going to try, but there's less hope than I had a couple of days ago. A couple of other things worth mentioning. We've been advocating for an increase in the $600 threshold for 1099Ks to $10,000. And again, we were making significant progress, but I don't believe that's going to happen because this is a revenue source for the federal government. And we all know our government needs resources. And so as practitioners, we're going to need to start to prepare for like this slew of 1099s coming in to our clients. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is we've also been advocating for a delay of the beneficial ownership interest reporting requirements, which are going to kick in starting in January of 2024. These are regulations that have been adopted by FinCEN, that's the government agency, and it's an anti-money laundering. It's anti-money laundering regulations, essentially, and it's going to impact 33 million businesses starting in January of 2024, and they are small businesses, and it will impact accounting firms as well as clients. And so we've been hoping for a delay because FinCEN did not issue any guidance, but over the last couple of weeks, they issued a 56-page guidance document that has significant links throughout it to the regulations. They've issued a 10-page checklist to determine whether or not an entity is exempt. So there's a lot of complexity, and here we are in October, and the regulations go into effect in January. So we are continuing to advocate for a postponement or a deferral of that regulation.
Thank you. All right. So, Okorie, you know, there's been a lot of change going on with CPA firms, and another kind of ongoing topic for discussion is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion within the profession. And we all have work to do, but what are some of the steps that we can take?
Thanks, AJ. And you know, this is, as I mentioned earlier, one of the top priorities, you know, that I have. And I would say that organizations really have to focus on 5 things, right? And these are 5 key areas. The first would be understanding the business case for DE&I. Right? So it's not to say that, oh, it's just a nice to have, something that we're doing because it's the greater good. There's a business imperative to having a strong position on DE&I and making sure that you're operating in a way that really supports and advocates for that. Addressing bias in the sense of belonging. When you're talking about culture, you have to make sure that you're thinking about what does that look for everybody in your organization, and ensuring that they all feel like they have a seat at the table, right? And while they're not necessarily all going to be able to make decisions, right, for the firms, but you want to make sure that their views are represented in the way that you operate as an organization. You know, maintain accountability. How are you measuring that success of your DE&I initiatives? And that actually works well in the ESG space as well, because it's like you have the social element of that covering that space. And then supporting diverse professionals and students who are looking at coming into the profession, because we are still very underrepresented in that space. We need to have more students of color coming into the profession, and we care about you and wanting you to come into the profession. So what are the things that we need to do to listen in that space as well? And then providing support and flexibility for women and LGBT plus and veterans and others to make sure that they feel like they're represented as well. People should not have to make a choice of am I a professional or am I going to be a parent, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do to really help mentor, sponsor, and create an environment where everyone feels that they are represented and are important and valued.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Certainly.
All right. Well, thank you both for these updates. I enjoyed, hearing all of the updates. And we also have an exciting development here in New Jersey. Legislation that was drafted by the NJCPA and the New Jersey Business and Industry Association was recently signed into law. It will provide taxpayers, lawmakers, and the media with a better understanding of New Jersey's complete financial picture. The new law requires the state auditor to annually issue a reader-friendly summary of the New Jersey Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, or ACFR, which is a 400-plus page document filled with technical accounting jargon. The new summary will promote a better understanding of the state's complete financial picture, including off-budget items like long-term liabilities and independent authorities. It will also include per capita comparative statistics from Mid-Atlantic and Northeast states. So we're very proud to have played a role in this important legislation, which will serve as a critically important role in educating everyone on the state's complete financial situation. This will bring more transparency and provide for better policy making.
Yeah, AJ, I would share that at a federal level, that, and this is great legislation at the state level, I believe that we're looking at doing something at a federal level as well that would drive similar work because we believe the value in this space. And so it's great to see what you all are doing here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, you know, as a taxpayer, I'm excited about this, and I'm so proud to be a CPA in New Jersey because this is the first state that has done this, and I think it's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. We're very proud of that. Okay, so let's see if there are attendee questions. There's one. What is the AICPA's and NJCPA position on the extra 30 credits needed to be licensed? So I'll start with.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So our education requirement is very important to licensure, as is the exam, as is our experience requirement. And there are hurdles to entry, but they're purposeful hurdles. Could the 30 hours be better defined? Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I will tell you that this National Pipeline Advisory Group that we put together is actually looking at all of what constitutes, I'll use the term substantial equivalency, which are those 3 E's, education, experience, and exam, to see if there are additional ways that we can evaluate what those requirements should be and amend those requirements. So it's on the table for evaluation and consideration.
And I would say for NJCPA, we have our task force, and you know, we are definitely looking across the board at 150 hours, as well as the barriers to licensure and all of the factors that are involved in addressing the pipeline challenge. So, I understand that the task force, there's one at the national level. We're also doing the research and coming up with, recommendations on how we can all move forward. So, I would say that before we share a position, that we're really looking to understand everything around 150 and come up with some solutions. So there will be recommendations to our strategic planning committee as well as to the board.
That's great. And I'm looking forward to seeing those. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would just offer that I believe it's important that we make sure that we keep a strong standard for what it means to be a CPA. But I also believe that when we're looking at the barriers to entry, how do we ease the barriers in a way that does not lower the standards, but at the same time creates opportunities to bring more people into the profession. When I talk with students, across the country, they're focused on it's more of the type of work we do and not so much what are the hurdles to ultimately get there. So I think that we need to look at that, and I'm so pleased with the pipeline initiative that Sue, that you're leading with Lexi Kessler, who's a member of our board, and the entire committee to really help us look at this multi-pronged approach of how we address that.
I think you raise a good point that, and I tried to make this point a little bit earlier, there's a lot of opinion out there that is not backed up by fact, but there is a lot of fact out there. Really? And identifying, what those true root causes are, and then where we can actually do something and make the biggest difference, which I think is what you said your task force is doing,
right.
Which I think is great.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we're also looking at those strategies. You just mentioned high school and college level. So we understand that there's progression, right? And creating that awareness. So very happy to see what CAQ, Center for Audit Quality, is doing. And we are also looking at various strategies for high school students to college, and also, just making that pathway a little bit easier, maybe streamlined might be a good word for that.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you both for your time today, and thank you for joining us. And now I will turn the program over to Teresa.
Thanks, AJ. I really enjoyed today's program and learning all of the information that Sue and Okorie shared. Hopefully you all know that December 31 is the end of the New Jersey triennial licensing cycle. You must earn 120 CPE credits between January 1st, 2021 and December 31st, 2023, with a minimum of 20 credits in each calendar year. As you may recall, the New Jersey State Board of Accountancy granted an extension of time to earn credits during the previous triennial cycle. If you took advantage of that extension, remember that there's no double dipping. Credits earned between January 1st and June 30th of 2021 that you used for your 2018 to 2020 triennial cycle cannot also be counted during the current triennial. The State Board will be mailing renewal notices 60 days prior to the deadline, so you should receive your notice the first week of November. You cannot renew until you receive the notice. If you still need to earn CPE credits, we're offering many opportunities to do so. Visit the link on your screen to search our virtual and in-person event options, as well as on-demand programs. There are a number of benefits that come with your NJCPA membership. In addition to today's sponsor, I'd like to highlight two of them. Through Plymouth Rock, NJCPA members can save 15% on auto insurance. This is our #1 most accessed member benefit program. And through our partnership with ADP, you can get free standard payroll processing for your firm and discounts on payroll processing services for your small business clients. Learn more about these two programs and today's sponsor, Merchant Advocate, and other benefit programs at njcpa.org/benefits. Another program we're very proud of is our scholarship program. Applications are now open. High school seniors, college sophomores, juniors, and seniors can apply for scholarships ranging from $1,500 to $6,500. Learn more at the link on your screen. Our annual CPA exam fee lottery is now open through October 31st. NJCPA student and affiliate members who are planning to sit for the CPA exam between December 1st, 2023 and November 1st, 2024 can enter for a chance to receive $750 towards CPA exam fees. Learn more at the link on your screen. Our annual food drive, sponsored by the Emerging Leaders Council, is running through November 16th. Visit the link on your screen to find out how you can make a monetary or food donation to benefit the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. As you may have heard, this year is the NJCPA's 125th anniversary. To commemorate this, we've installed an amazing history wall in our office. We hope that you will all be able to visit us in person to see it, but in the meantime, we'll provide a brief video tour at the end of today's session. And now, I'll turn the program back over to Jesse Hirschbein for his final Ovation Award announcement. Jesse, the one we all been waiting for.
Thanks, Teresa. It's been my pleasure announcing all of these Ovation Award winners today. It all comes down to this one big award, the Lifetime Leader Award. This recipient is a standout NJCPA member who has made remarkable contributions to the accounting profession over the course of his career. He has abundant professional achievements, extensive career community service, steadfast determination, and on top of it all, he's a really nice guy. This year's Lifetime Leader is Robert Traphagen. I know I speak for everyone at the NJCPA when I say thank you, Robert, for your many years of dedicated service to the profession and the society. Thank you so much. Teresa, back to you.
Thanks, Jesse. And congratulations to Robert and all of our Ovation Award winners. That wraps up today's broadcast. You will be receiving an evaluation link via email. Please take a few moments to complete it. In addition, you should receive your CPE certificate within 1 to 2 weeks. If you have a colleague who missed the program, we will be replaying it on October 10th at noon. And our next Issues Watch live broadcast will be on December 20th. Thank you to AJ, Ed, Okorie, Jesse, Marita, and Sue. And thanks again to our sponsor, Merchant Advocate. Stay tuned for the video of our history wall and have a great afternoon.